The Boston Celtics, most storied franchise in NBA history. 17 championships. No matter what era you look in, whether it's the Bill Russell-led teams of the 50s and 60s, Larry Bird's teams of the 80s, or their most recent championship, the Celtics have always stressed teamwork, defense, and toughness. And while all this is fantastic, we'll be honest, I think it's going to take a while for their modern-day roster to reach those levels. Now don't get me wrong, I do think there's some genuine NBA talent, guys like Isaiah Thomas and David Lee, but at the same time, there's untapped potential. I mean, Avery Bradley is a fine defensive player, but on the other side of the floor, he loves taking jump shots, and he does not always make them. Another one is Jared Sullinger, who's got all the talent in the world, but unfortunately, his conditioning has been holding him back. And of course, there's the X factor of the team, Marcus Smart, who, like Bradley, has already shown himself to be a lethal defender. But if you're expecting Marcus to become this team's franchise point guard this season, you can forget about that because he's going to make some mistakes. Now, that being said, I think Marcus has already shown enough flashes to tell me he can eventually be our best player. But here's the question, should he be starting at point guard? Should we allow Marcus to go through his growing pains knowing how good he can be? Or should Isaiah Thomas get the nod? Because let's be honest, right here, right now, Isaiah is the better player. But would we hinder Marcus Smart's progress by having him come off the bench? These are the type of questions we have with this roster. I mean, maybe the best move is to mold Marcus into being a shooting guard so they can play next to each other. But then, at that point, you're just opening up a whole nother can of options. But this isn't the only logjam on this team. Let's look at the power forward position. David Lee or Jared Sullinger, who do you start? They're both deserving of minutes, they can both play. I mean, David Lee, he may have more experience, but word around the league is that Jared Sullinger is slimming down this year. Maybe this will be his breakout season, he's got to be starting for that, of course. And then there's also Amir Johnson, another power forward who's deserving of minutes. Now, luckily for us, we do have the head coach for the job, because Brad Stevens has already emerged as one of the best young coaches in the league. But I can't be too positive. Let's talk about the center position. We got Tyler Zeller and Kelly Olynyk. So in other words, we don't have a center. We need to change that. We need some muscle, we need some size up front that can be a force for us. So who can we get? Well, how about Demarcus Cousins? Now wait a minute, how would that happen? Well, my personal insider has already told me that if the Kings are struggling this year, which could happen, Demarcus is going to demand a trade because he's tired of that situation. Now, we don't have the talent on this roster to make a straight-up move with Sacramento. However, thanks to Billy King's successful attempt at becoming the worst GM of all time by giving us 1 million draft picks in exchange for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, we have the ability to get a third team involved. Now, who would it be? Well, my insider also tells me that the Philadelphia 76ers are having a tough time deciding between Joel Embiid and Jahlil Okafor, and they're willing to give it about half a season, and whichever one wins out, they're ready to trade the other one for assets. So here's my vision. The Sixers send either Jahlil Okafor or Joel Embiid to the Kings, which we can compensate Philadelphia for, and both teams really because we have 1 million draft picks. This way, Sacramento gets their new big man after Demarcus forces his way out of town, and the Sixers, they'll be content with the picks because as we know, they just love to stay in rebuilding mode. And of course, if either team wants some more talent, I can throw Jared Sullinger in there or something. And at the end of the day, the main prize, Demarcus Cousins, comes to Boston. Now, of course, for this to happen, Sacramento needs to be struggling, so we're going to be keeping tabs on them all season, and my insider is going to be giving me inside scoops about Philadelphia as well. We'll see if it happens.